Emotional abuse is one of the most overlooked and yet most damaging types of abuse. It doesn't leave bruises, but it can deeply wound your self-esteem, making you question your value and sometimes even your sanity. If you feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells or that nothing that you do is ever good enough, you might be experiencing emotional abuse. Let's look at 9 emotional abuse tactics that you need to know. 1. Criticism and degradation. 2. Emotional withholding. 3. Blame shifting. 4. Guilt tripping. 5. Threats and intimidation. 6. Excessive jealousy and possessiveness. 7. Public humiliation. 8. Love bombing and withdrawing. 9. Silent treatment. Emotional abuse doesn't always look like name-calling or a screaming match, but it can be extremely dangerous for a couple of reasons. 1, it tears down who you are as a person, and that will make you unwilling to leave a dangerous and abusive relationship because you have lost that about yourself. And 2, emotional abuse, psychological abuse, these things often precede physical violence. So it's not like, well, I don't have the bruises or the broken bones that come with physical violence, so this is not dangerous. It's just a different type of dangerous. The victims that I have talked to, they would rather have the physical violence than this abuse, because this has much, much longer lasting effects. 1. Criticism and degradation. An abuser will tear you down with name-calling, belittling, even comparing you to other people. It's a strategic attempt to tear you down as a person, because if they can tear you down and you feel like you're not enough, not good enough in their eyes, it makes you dependent on their validation to sort of build you back up. 2. Emotional withholding. Really loving one day and then the next day they just take it all back, and it puts you into this cycle of needing to get their approval, to re-earn their approval, even if you haven't done anything wrong in the first place. 3. Blame shifting. They never take responsibility for their actions. They're always putting the blame on you or somebody else, but very often it's you as the partner. This might come off like, I wouldn't yell if you didn't fill in the blank. Like, they're always twisting things to make it a situation where you're the one that's apologizing, even if you didn't do anything wrong. You can really tell people who have dealt with this particular thing when you meet somebody and they apologize for everything. They apologize for breathing oxygen because it could go to somebody else. I have been that person. I have known those people. We stand out like a sore thumb after we have been torn down by this emotional abuse in this way. If we haven't met yet, my name is April Hardy. I'm a survivor who now educates women on how to stay safe from scary exes. If that sounds interesting to you, please subscribe to the channel. We would love to have you become part of the community. 4. Guilt tripping. An abuser may guilt trip you to manipulate you into getting what they want. They could say things like, after all that I've done for you, this is how you're going to repay me. Or, I had this recently, I spent so much time doing this, and you are not going to do what I want you to do, even though I spent all of this time doing this for you. Or they could make you feel selfish for creating boundaries and trying to enforce boundaries to keep yourself safe, for example. This is emotional blackmail, essentially, to try to keep you under their control. 5. Threats and intimidation. They may not actually physically harm you, but they can do a lot of damage just by threatening to harm you or to harm somebody that you care about or to harm themselves. All of these are extremely effective tactics for trying to keep somebody who is in an abusive relationship staying in that relationship. Whether it is, if you break up with me, I'm going to kill myself, or if you leave me, you'll be sorry. I'm going to kill that dang dog of yours, or whatever they want to throw in there. I will break all of your stuff. I will set our house on fire. Whatever. Sometimes the threats are really direct like that. Sometimes they're more subtle. Like, it would be a shame if little Bobby's funding for school suddenly disappeared because, you divorced me, and so then I need to use that money for an attorney. So he's going to be the one that suffers. It is a tactic of power and control to create fear in you so that you will not do what they don't want you to do. 6, excessive jealousy and possessiveness. Accusing you of being interested in somebody else or cheating on somebody else, cheating on them with somebody else. If I have heard of one consistent thing throughout domestic violence survivors, it's that accusation. Some of them can't even look at another male like they have to do this if a guy is around type of thing, because anything can be considered a threat to this person's insecurity, and they will accuse them of cheating. That's a super common one. The reason this is so damaging, though, or can be so damaging, is that it isolates you. It can end up isolating you from friends, from coworkers, from anybody else, because you want to live like this. You want to try to prove to them that you're not interested in anybody else, to the point where you will isolate yourself. So they don't even have to do the isolating that happens in many domestic violence cases. They will just emotionally push you into doing it yourself. 7, public humiliation. They may make jokes at your expense. They may mock you in public, or they could reveal personal, private information. It's all designed to show you that they're the ones that are in control, they're dominant, and remind you what your place is within the relationship. An example of that is revenge porn. They're angry with you, so they're going to humiliate you in public. Sometimes sending those tapes to everybody that your parents are friends with or something like that. They can be super cruel. It's a power and control thing, just like all the rest of them. It just can be really publicly humiliating, instead of many of these are internally humiliating. 8, love bombing and withdrawing. At first, they can overwhelm you with all of this attention and gifts, and they're just so amazing. And you feel like you have found the perfect person, the perfect partner, and then they withdraw it. And then they give it to you again, and then they'll withdraw it. This push-pull cycle is said to help keep you seeking their validation and ignoring the red flags. If you just look at how successful casinos are, they use this. You will lose a good amount of the time when you're gambling in a casino. That's why the casinos are laden with gold and so amazing and stuff. But they will let you in enough so that you stay hooked, because if you lost all the time, you'd leave. If these abusers were terrible all of the time, you'd leave. So they give you just enough of the good stuff, just enough wins, so that you stay hooked. It's 100% intentional. They know what they're doing. 9, silent treatment. They just stonewall you, cut you off emotionally. They don't talk to you. They won't look at you. It's not just about cooling off after an argument. They make you feel unworthy and invisible. And in my experience, desperate. Desperate to regain their attention. Desperate to walk on eggshells and hang on every word or not word that happens, waiting to get their validation back, because they've probably done that love bombing, withholding thing. And to the point where this silent treatment, it's just a part of that withholding process. And you know that the love will come again. You just got to wait it out. You got to do whatever it takes, whatever they want. it's abuse. Question of the day: do you recognize one of these tactics, either from your own life or from somebody that you know's life? Let me know in the comments what you see, what happened, any advice that you have that you want to share. I would love to hear it. It will help other people that are coming to this video later. If this is something that you're experiencing, if you recognize the things, any of them, the tactics that are in there, know that you're not alone, you're not crazy, and there are resources to help you get out of that relationship. I love to recommend the hotline.org. They're a great free resource. You can also look in the description for some of the different resources that we have available. I obviously would recommend those too. Just know that you're not alone. Okay? Next video, we're going to look at sort of a twin for this one, or an evil cousin. We're going to look at psychological abuse, which a lot of times people consider the same thing, but they're not. And I'm very adamant on that. Emotional abuse makes you feel like you're walking on eggshells and you're not good enough. Psychological abuse makes you think you're crazy. Makes you question reality. Is up really up, or is it really down? I don't know anymore. I barely know my own name. That's what psychological abuse will do. If you think that you might have experienced that, if you feel like you're not sure what reality even is anymore, you definitely want to watch the next video. Until I see you again, please stay safe.